Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome back to the D3 Audible Cheat Sheets. This episode kicks off with an introduction to Italy, and the next several episodes will go into the different Italy chapters as per the textbook. Italy's wine story is not one of a single tradition, but of accumulation. Each era added a layer rather than replacing what came before, and that layering explains both the complexity and the contradictions of Italian wine today. Wine has been made on the Italian peninsula since at least the 8th century BCE, shaped early by both Etruscan and Greek influence. The Etruscans were likely responsible for exporting wine culture northwards into what is now Mediterranean France, while the Greek colonies of southern Italy embedded wine deeply into daily life. By the time of Pliny the Elder in the 1st century CE, wine was not only widespread but already differentiated by origin and vintage. This early recognition that wines from different places could vary in quality laid the conceptual groundwork for Italy's later obsession with place. Roman expansion changed wine from a local agricultural product into a commercial one. The growth of Rome created a vast domestic market, and the empire's reach enabled export by sea to Gaul and Spain. Prestige wines at this time came mainly from areas that are now Lazio and northern Campania, but viticulture extended across the peninsula. Wine was already economically important, culturally embedded, and geographically diverse. After the fall of the Roman Empire, fine wine production and long distance trade largely collapsed. Wine remained part of the Mediterranean diet, but it became local, functional, and rarely aspirational. That began to change again between the 11th and 14th centuries when cities such as Genoa and Venice became major European trading hubs. Wine moved with trade, and Florence's rise as a banking center allowed families such as Antinori and Frescobaldi to convert financial capital into land and vineyards. The result was a shift from subsistence wine to wine as an asset. But production remained fragmented, tied to sharecropping systems that prioritized volume and local consumption over refinement. By the 19th century, recognizable modern Italian styles began to emerge. Chianti's gradual consolidation around Sangiovese is one example of how regional identities started to stabilize. The unification of Italy in 1861 and the post Second World War economic boom accelerated this process, but initially in the wrong direction. High yields and volume production dominated, driven by the need to supply both a recovering domestic market and inexpensive exports. Quality was inconsistent and reputation suffered. The turning point came in the second half of the 20th century, driven by technology and ambition rather than regulation. In the 1960s, producers in Friuli adopted stainless steel fermentation and temperature control, allowing clean, aromatic white wines that could compete internationally. In the 1970s, Bordeaux inspired blends in Tuscany demonstrated that Italian wines could command prestige and price outside traditional frameworks. These innovations created a cause and effect shift across the country. Once a few regions proved that quality and commercial success were possible, expectations rose everywhere. Over the last 2 decades, Italy has entered a more confident phase. Producers have largely stepped back from heavy new oak for traditional varieties, returning instead to large casks, older wood, or concrete, better suited to grapes such as Nebbiolo and Sangiovese. At the same time, Italy's extraordinary range of indigenous grape varieties has become a strength rather than a weakness. With between 375 and 500 identified varieties, Italy offers diversity that no other country can match, while still achieving a massive commercial success through globally recognizable wines such as Pinot Grigio and Prosecco. Italy's growing environment underpins this diversity. Stretching from 35 to 47 degrees north and dissected by the Apennines, the country offers almost every viticultural condition imaginable. Maritime influence moderates many regions, while inland areas such as Trentino Alto Adige and parts of Veneto experience more continental conditions. This geographic complexity explains why Italy cannot be understood as a single climate zone and why regional analysis is essential at diploma level. Vineyard management has evolved just as dramatically. Traditional systems such as pergola and bush wines were once widespread, chosen for practicality and survival rather than precision. Since the Second World War, most vineyards have shifted to trellis systems that allow better control of yields and ripening. Yet tradition has not disappeared entirely. Pergola remains useful where shade is needed, and bush wines persist in the south where drought resistance matters more than mechanization. This coexistence of old and new reflects Italy's broader pattern: adaptation without erasure. Winemaking mirrors this balance. Stainless steel and temperature control transformed white wine quality, while French barriques briefly reshaped red wines in the late 20th century. The retreat from overt oak in recent decades is a deliberate stylistic correction, recognizing that many Italian varieties express place more clearly without heavy wood influence. Italy's wine laws attempt to impose structure on this complexity. The DOC system, introduced in 1967, followed by DOCG and later IGT, created a hierarchy that both protected tradition and allowed innovation. Crucially, some of Italy's most important wines emerged outside the rules, forcing the system to adapt. This tension between regulation and creativity remains central to understanding Italian wine today. From a business perspective, Italy is a global powerhouse. It has regularly been the world's largest wine producer in recent years, with production dominated by small growers and large cooperatives. Domestic consumption has declined sharply over the last century, pushing producers towards export markets, where nearly half of Italian wine is now sold. The success of Italian wine abroad is not accidental. It is the result of scale combined with diversity, tradition combined with adaptability. Italy, then, is best understood not as a single narrative, but as a system shaped by geography, history, and repeated reinvention. That complexity is precisely why it rewards careful cause and effect thinking and why it remains one of the most examinable countries in the diploma syllabus. I do hope this helps with your prep. We will continue with Northeast Italy in the next episode, and I'll see you then.